Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's episode 5, and happy to have you here as a guest. It was really nice to meet you on Discord, of all places.
Yeah.
Do you like hanging out on Discord?
Definitely. It's something that I've been doing lately. I didn't do it a lot before, but as I told you earlier, when we met each other, I took a test, an English certification, and I got like really interested in trying to improve my speaking skills overall.
Which,
And I
speaking is
found
like
Discord,
top notch.
and it's great. Like we met each other, and I think like this is one of the things that I was looking for.
Yeah, it's hit or miss, I find,
Hmm.
because there's some servers that are just full of trolls, and
True.
there's other servers that are like really niche, like a programming server I actually met my girlfriend on.
Mhm.
So there's a wide range of people, and you can really actually meet good friends on there.
I think that as you said before, it's something that you must get lucky on, or you need to get lucky on, right? I'm pretty sure that if I have 40 conversations a day with different people, probably 3 or 4 will stick in my head, right? The other were just like chit chat,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they weren't as deep.
It's like you have to kind of set the playing field. Like you have to take initiative because otherwise, if especially if you're in like the English channel
Hmm.
for English language practicing, it's all the same general questions,
Yes.
like leading into the conversation. And if you don't kind of beat that cycle, you're kind of stuck with just a mundane discussion.
I think it has to do with you trying to push yourself and trying to get out of your comfort zone, right? Like actually expanding the conversation to other topics. And it doesn't need to be a hard topic, right? You can just start talking about books, for example. And books are a great start. So you can suddenly, boom, reach other limits, right?
And we're certainly going to reach other limits
Hmm.
right now with the first segment of the show. Beep boop beep boop boop. Transhumanism.
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to upgrade. So I'll be honest. I know very little about transhumanism, but I'm willing to talk about it because it's an interesting subject. So I'll just roll it out for you, and you can give the intro.
Okay, so transhumanism is a philosophical movement, right, that focuses mostly on technology improving the conditions of us human beings and of our way of living. So, an example of what transhumanism targets is, for example, aging. They believe, or transhumanists believe, that we are dying at a very young age. We're not even reaching 70s or 80s. So, using technological enhancements, they are looking to expand our span of age, our age span, right? Also, for example, they try to improve our intelligence by implementing, for example, chips or circuits on our brain, and also improve psychological aspects of the human mind.
So it seems like it's just to get an edge over the rest of the population. If you have the means and the money to afford these kind of modifications, you can live longer, you can be smarter. And what does that entail? Like, is a long life necessarily a good one? And will these sorts of brain chip implants, if it's administered to students, give some students too much of an advantage?
I think it's hard to talk about it because if you're going to talk about the economical differences between people, certainly some will have an edge over the others, right? So maybe you will have to separate them by groups, or maybe create even different universities because you know their skills will be enhanced and improved. And maybe they're improved too much to the point that they're in a different league, you know? They're
So
definitely not in the same.
it's not just physical abilities, right? For
Right?
example, it could be a physical ability could be stronger grip, or something, right?
Exactly.
Or
A
it
lot
could
of
be like
people.
the exoskeleton where you can lift heavy objects and you could do certain labor work even better than you could before.
Yes, a lot of people have the misconception that transhumanism is like becoming totally a cyborg, and that you will just have enhancements to your limbs. But not really. I think that a really cool thing about transhumanism is that they not only target to enhance, but actually uh, to try to solve the actual problems that are happening in poorly developed zones. For example, I was reading an article about transhumanists trying to develop a device so that he can counter the malnutrition, right? So in zones where people cannot get enough food or enough water, these technological enhancements might come in really handy.
So, so there's a is it a body modification for malnutrition?
Yeah, exactly. I believe it's something to do with the process that of your body related to how they absorb the nutrients and how they
Yeah.
actually use them. So I think
So
that's a
an
really cool thing.
enhancement in maybe the digestion of nutrients, so it's
Yes.
more efficient, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, cool. So, what would it be difficult to um, implement in countries where that's needed? Because it seems like a really advanced technology, and you're targeting a market that doesn't have the means to purchase such a thing. So,
I think that it's going to be hard at the moment, but you know that as technology evolves and grows, it becomes cheaper, right?
yeah,
Not necessarily in the most advanced components, but you know how, for example, graphic cards or CPUs start getting cheaper as
yeah,
new generations come.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe we'll have to just wait for some years to pass, and then it could be affordable for the countries or the zones that need it.
Is that something that you'd buy into if you could, if you could have this like digestive enhancement, and you could eat less and feel hungry or feel more full?
I think I'd be into it. Honestly, even though I'm not that informed in the transhumanism topic, I support it. I think it is the next step in the human race evolution.
Sure, sure. I can see it kind of causing a divide though in society, just because, like I mentioned, there's like a paywall, and certain class groups can enhance themselves, and the rest are kind of left behind until that gap is closed through like government subsidies or whatnot.
Yeah, and not only in that aspect, but also it triggers people who believe that the human body is pure and it should not be tampered with, right?
Hmm.
So there's a lot of discussions related to why should we include technology in our body if we are already
Yeah,
designed to
yeah,
live a good life.
yeah. It's like slowly increasing the amount of integration with technology, because before you had like the hearing aid, you had the pacemaker,
Mhm.
you had maybe an artificial hand or something, but you know, these new developments, it might be replacing more of your function and improving more of your function than what we know as it stands.
I think that I can understand why some people believe it's not necessary, because some of the things that transhumanism wants to achieve are kind of crazy. You know, I was reading about a guy who tried to implement like a spacesuit in our body, so that
A spacesuit?
yeah, exactly, so that we could survive on out of Earth, right? So
That seems
that
like
that
straight out of
definitely seems
sci-fi.
excessive, right? That's overkill. But I think that people should understand that the purpose of this is to actually be better and to be in synergy, like maybe a symbiotic relationship with technology and us humans. So maybe an artificial intelligence does not seem that crazy if it's going to help you on your daily basis.
Someone who attended Elon Musk's Neuralink demo asked an interesting question. They said, "Would you be able to record memories and play them back?" And his answer was yes. As simple
Mhm.
as that. Like it is technologically possible to do that, and that was a shock to me. Like I've seen episodes of Black Mirror where they
Yeah.
they hint at that, right? Possibility in a dystopian world, but
Mhm.
I don't even know how that would be achievable. Like the science behind it, no clue.
I'm not sure either. However, I think it has its good sides and its downsides, right? I would see people being concerned about their security, right? Like you are recording the lives of people, and if you want to archive them, then you pretty much have uh, a lot of things that they've done, so that you can get info on them or manipulate them with it, right? But I
Yeah,
think it's also a good thing because, for example, photo albums would be replaced, and it would be easier to store them, right? Like paper is getting very, very outdated, and if you could just store on your mind whatever you have seen or whatever you have lived through and share it with other people, then I think it would be just better. You know, if you
that's
could
kind of cool.
actually record the moment and not just actually frame it on a photo, I think it would be insane. Like, hey, I remember this time when I was at this party, and suddenly, hey, let me play the video and just show them
Yeah,
to them. I
yeah.
think you could be more. You could be more in connection with the memory, right?
It would definitely resolve disputes because you could just play it back. Like right now, like cops have body cam and citizens can pull out their phone. But if your optical system was just hooked up to this recorder from an attachment of some device, right, to your brain,
Hmm.
then it'd be recording every interaction that you have, anything that you see, which would be good for vacations. You capture all your memories, but if like there's a court that needs evidence or something, they could request that you provide your footage that you captured
And
onto your.
I think you're getting into something here because I now wonder how trials, for example, uh, how would they evolve or how would they change if this kind of memories, like stored memories in your brain, would be implemented? Do you think it would be better? It would be worse?
Hmm. I think the evidence would speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you have footage of every interaction, depending on like who has this implanted, right? I assume anyone who wants to go and commit a crime, like I don't know, rob the Louvre or something, they're not going to have that, so that it would incriminate them. But people that are witnesses, they'll just be like portable cameras.
Yeah, but I also can see people being against it because, well, it involves something to do with your brain, right? So I
Yeah,
can see people being afraid of someone actually playing or toying with your brain, right? It's
yeah,
definitely not something that you would not be comfortable with. I mean, if
yeah,
people are uncomfortable with surgery, now someone doing something to your brain out of your I don't know, out of something that you want or out of of something that the government wants, it's insane.
yeah, yeah. I think there's some control over security and like um, any health concerns you have, like maybe too much stimulation of the
Hmm.
nerves. It might be regulated with a certain circuit, like only X amount of current can go through and stimulate the nerves.
True.
Um, but yeah, it's such a general term, hacking. Like you talk about implants in the brain, and then someone will inevitably say, like, what if it gets hacked? But it's funny because they have no knowledge of how it could be hacked or whether it's even feasible. But they'll bring it up. They'll raise that concern.
I can also tell that someone's gonna be like, wait, it's hackable, right? It's technology, but it's not just any kind of technology. You're actually playing with your brain and your brain signals, right? Well, we know that the brain sends out electrical signals, so somehow the guys that created this technology managed to fuse those signals with a circuit so that they could save images or record video. So you would not only need to be an expert in the circuits that are being implemented, but you also need to know how the brain works and how they are
I
using
don't, I
it.
don't, I don't know if that's exactly it, because to break a television, you don't need to know how to build it, right?
Mhm.
Same thing goes with this implant in the brain. Maybe they can just hook it up to a car battery and just fry the brain.
How how about what would happen if the chip was not like exposed or the device was not exposed, but you would actually need to like dig in the brain to actually find it? Do you think that would make it harder for people to tap into?
I think that's pretty resounding yes. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, man.
so that's what I
It
was.
would involve surgery all over again. So
Mhm.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
that's a
Like
barrier. Yeah,
maybe you're not gonna be a neurosurgeon, for example, right? But you will need one, so it will definitely make the process harder. Like it's not as easy to to do as if you were like playing with a computer, right, or doing something with a computer.
but these types of surgeries, it can't even be done by the hand, because the um, the density of these electrode threads are so tiny.
Hmm.
It's got to be done with a robot,
True.
and that's part of the overall like system that Neuralink has designed. It's the surgical procedure, it's the method, it's the materials, and it's also like the technology behind the actual device.
Now, imagine if transhumanism manages to mix those devices that we're talking about, those machines that are built specifically for those kind of surgeries, like, for example, the Da Vinci robot. Imagine that you can fuse that with a surgeon who has the knowledge of how to do stuff. Then you think surgeries would be like at a higher success rate, and overall it would just improve the medical care area or department?
Well, the surgeon being able to control with such precision, yeah, and especially if they can do it remotely,
Hmm.
it would make the whole process faster. Like you could fit in more surgeries per day. The surgeon would be less tired,
Hmm.
because some surgeries take a long time, right? But if they
Yes.
have like this robot, this big robot that they can have fine-tuned control, and they don't have to worry about like keeping the sterile environment with human bodies in there, I think I think it would definitely bring like a huge advancement to
But
medicine.
what you're saying is already happening. Like that robot already exists, you know. So these kind of complex surgeries are already being taken care of. What I was
Yeah.
referring is that if you could implement like those devices, those precision devices, because a doctor or a surgeon using a robot involves him actually knowing how to do it, right? So
Yes.
he must not only know about what he's about to do, but he must also know
Yes.
how to do it with the robot.
Yes.
So how
Yes.
about if transhumanism manages to implement all those knowledges in his mind, so that they're done by nature, um, and they substitute or they remove the need to actually learn and be constantly thinking about what you can do.
Wow. I mean, it'd be like a conveyor belt
Hmm.
in nature. Like anyone that's injured would just go through this automated system, and all the
Yes.
knowledge from the surgeon would just fix the problem. And that's like so far down the line. I don't even know if like our environment will sustain life at that point. Like
Mhm.
technology will advance so much, but I don't know if like we'll be on a planet that can can even cater to that.
Yeah, sometimes these thoughts like get so out of hand that you think that you're actually like getting off topic, right? But I think that a clear display of transhumanism might be in simpler devices that just make life easier overall, instead of just talking about robots and knowledge implemented into stuff. You know?
Yeah, I was talking to my friends today about when I used to have a Game Boy.
Hmm.
I didn't even have the the LED attachment. So at night, when I was in the car,
Hmm.
my parents would be driving. I could only see the screen as we pass under a street light. So it'd be
Hmm.
like intermittent light. as I'm
Yeah.
like playing, and I could like play for a little bit, and then I'd have to like look away because it's dark. And think about like how simplistic that was, and that was like 15 years ago. So a lot can change. A lot can change over time.
Yeah, we have to remember that technology grows in an exponential way, right? So it's just not only like little improvements that are happening, but we're taking big steps, right, or big gaps in the technology area.
The exponential rate, are you referring to Moore's law?
Um, I might be talking about it. Yeah. You know how Moore's law. If I remember correctly, it says that there are more processors, more transistors, I think, implemented in this electrical circuits while the prices go down, right?
Something like that. It's like the density of how many transistors you can put on a
CPU.
circuit on a CPU or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to mean. Like you know how some decades ago we used to use floppy disks, you know, and these really big hard drives, and now we have a lot of storage or power of storaging data on just the palm of our hand, for example, or in the
It's
tip of our finger.
crazy. It's crazy that I've lived through this era because I remember using a floppy disk to save like a few megabytes, a couple of files,
Hmm.
and and then I remember burning CDs with movies. And
Yep.
now at my work, I'm just doing like analysis of data, and there's so much coming in. It's like such a huge evolution over time. It's impressive.
I think our generations are extremely lucky to be living through this transition
Yeah.
because I think right now we're like in the middle ground because older generations, I think they're stuck or struggling. Well, they're stuck with old technology, or they're struggling to use the newer technologies, right? And also, the newer generations don't know what the hell to do with old stuff, right? Like, have you seen the videos about children trying to use the phones, the old phones where you had to spin the wheel to ring a
Actually,
number?
Ellen has a segment on her show, and it
Hmm.
kind of shows how much of a jerk she is because she puts like these millennials in front of, say, for example, a rotary phone, and they have
Hmm.
to try and figure out how to actually use it, and the whole audience is just watching, and they're like laughing at the guest on stage with Ellen. You know, like there's a whole fiasco with Ellen right now, but that's another.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's a clear proof that um, newer generations don't know what to do with old stuff, and that older generations do not know what to do with new stuff. Fortunately, we know what to do with both things from the past and are learning how to use things from the future. So maybe we have the edge over other generations that are to come.
Yeah, I totally agree. Something as simple as the save button
Mhm.
on Microsoft Word, we look at it and we know exactly what the origin is. But you give that to, a kid in middle school right now, they don't know it comes from the floppy disk. They don't know what a floppy disk is.
And also, older generations cannot really relate to that kind of stuff. For example, I was talking to my mother, which is, kind of a boomer in the technology topic. And for example, if you try to tell them logically what to do, I think they struggle while doing it. You would expect that they used floppy disks back in the day. So if they
Yeah,
see a floppy disk somewhere in the screen, well, they might figure out that that's the way how do you say stuff, right? But they would be like,
yeah,
I don't know what that means. Like, what am I
yeah,
supposed to do with it? And you need to explain it.
yeah. And some of these programs, they get so busy with what tools are available on the screen. Like, I don't know if you've tried like Adobe After Effects or Adobe Premiere or InDesign, but they're different products in this creative suite, and
Hmm.
it's jam packed with different functions. And you can spend days trying to figure out like exactly where to look on the screen. Same with like digital audio workstations, like
Right.
Ableton and Fruity Loops and stuff.
Yeah, I've never tried those programs that you mentioned or actually used them, but however, I have used the software like SolidWorks. Do you know what SolidWorks is?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also a busy screen, right? Like you have a lot going on, and it would probably take you ages to figure out exactly what each command does, right?
I find it funny that there are a group of people, and it's pretty common that they've never learned how to play an instrument, but
Hmm.
they think that with advancements in technology, they can hook up a computer to their brain and conduct an orchestra. But it's like, it's not that the limit was that you didn't know how to play a guitar or you didn't know how to write sheet music. It's you just don't think like a composer.
Yeah, I think artists are blessed with that. I don't know, with that mentality since they're born, right? Like since they're so young, they they develop this mindset and they just see things in a different way, right? Like an orchestra director so is thinking about tons of stuff while you're just thinking, how did those instruments actually like get together, right, or work together? It's just
Yeah,
incredible how they can do that.
yeah, especially some of the greats like Mozart and Beethoven and stuff. How they've just lasted through time. It's pretty impressive.
And they didn't even have technology back in the day, right? Or not as advanced as we have it right now. So imagine what those masterminds could do if they were living in our age.
I know, right? I know, right? Um, but I wonder, like, it would take some adapting. If they grew up in our era, maybe they'd be able to make some like really sick techno or digital music.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
Mozart would do, like have like bass drops and stuff.
right.
Um, if they came at their peak, I don't
Mhm.
think they'd be able to adjust to anything. That's like it's like the idea of sending like a gaming computer back in time to like the 60s. Like they wouldn't, first of all, they wouldn't have any of the cables to hook it up. But even if they had everything set up, they wouldn't be able to like deconstruct it and build it because they didn't have the technology to manufacture such a thing. It'd be like,
Exactly. If they try to reverse engineer it, they just would not be able to do it, right? They would they wouldn't even figure out how the circuit works because of how those things have advanced.
yeah, for sure. All right. I want to move on to the next segment.
Sure, let's go.
So, do 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 do. Death and dying. Please, no. I'm too young to die. So, how do you feel about this topic? It's kind of gloomy, but I think if you extend it to like the afterlife and stuff, there's like a discussion point over there. But if
Mhm.
you're talking about like the ways you can die and suffering and stuff, I feel like it might get a bit dark. But we can open up the floor to any of these.
I would like to give first my opinion on dying. So you know that dying is the common destiny for all of us, right? Like if
Yes,
all of us share something, is that we're going to die. You know, of course, there's going to be the troll guy that says, "But you were born also." But you know what I mean, right? Everyone's going to
yes,
die eventually.
yes.
I think
That's
it's
a
a
given.
topic. When I was younger, I was afraid of it. You know, the fact of dying and not knowing was what was after that was just scary. And I remember that I stayed up at night just wondering what happened, or I'm sorry, what will happen when you die. Like, will lights actually just turn off? Because I
Will it
refuse
be
to
like the last season of Lost?
I refuse to accept it, that everything just ends because uh, our mind it's just so, I don't know, you could say complicated. Like you
Well,
have a lot of things.
I think you live in collective memory, like your friends and family, and if you're famous, you know all your fans. But as far as your consciousness being preserved, that's that's up for debate.
Don't you think? You see, the thing is that we are able to store all these memories throughout our lives, right? And we can do a lot of things with them. So I don't think we just our brain just shuts down and the memories go away, because people say like you don't feel anything, like it's just the end. But I believe there's something else to it. Like, wait, but how's it the end? Like, do you actually stay trapped in the loop? What happens to your mind? Are you actually conscious in the process? How does it feel like not being conscious, like forever?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very expansive topic and it's difficult to wrap your head around because like nobody really can answer it. Like nobody that's legitimately died can come back to life and tell you what they experienced.
Even though there are some weird stories about people that claim to have reborn, right?
Yeah, there's people that wake up from comas or they've been knocked unconscious and they come back to life, I guess, and yeah, and then they share what their experience
I,
was.
I remember reading an article about this kid that claimed to be someone else. He was like a very young kid. He barely knew how to speak, but he actually was telling facts about his past life. So he was like, "This was my name." When he was able to tell an address, he gave it, and the parents got actually concerned about it, and they started, investigating about the topic. And the things that the kid was saying were like true. There was a person that had that went by that name, and the address actually existed, and
Yeah,
everything
I
just
can't help but
came
thinking that's
together.
like an elaborate ruse, though.
Do you
Like
think?
there has to be some like scheming behind that because how else is he going to obtain that information? And
Oh, of course you gotta be skeptical about it, right? Like you do not just believe it straight away. However, it leaves you that lingering finger. I mean, not finger. Lingering thought. My bad. Lingering thought of what if it's actually true? Like maybe it's all elaborated and it's just a big media story to get the ratings up or something. But you think like how about the kid's not actually lying? He's actually feeling that.
yeah, yeah, I'm a bit of a skeptic, but to to leave room for the plausibility of that story
Mhm.
being true, yeah, really makes you wonder.
It does. And what's your point of view about death? What do you think about it? What do you think happens after we die?
Personally, I'll say I'm not religious, so coming from
Mhm.
that angle, I was never um, like taught that there's an afterlife or anything like that. Um, and I come from a scientific background.
Mhm.
I studied engineering and did lots of science in high school. And to me, like my natural point of view is that the mind just goes um, and it's just gone. Like when you pass away,
Mhm.
there's no other realm that contains your consciousness. But it's an interesting idea to think about because you really have to retell the way that the world works and the way the universe runs. Basically, like
Mhm.
if there's another abstraction and um, beyond this dimension, there could be some simulation or something that actually contains all of the different people's consciousness. And yeah, it's something that really can't be explained with proof. So
Mhm.
that's why I hold to my position. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I think it's one of those things that you just need to live through, or in this case, die through.
Yeah.
What I said, and I think that's what scares a lot of people, right? Like
Hmm.
actually having to get to that point where no one knows what's going to happen. Not even the
Hmm.
greatest minds know
Hmm.
what's going on, right? So you're just taking a leap of faith, I guess you could say, or life is forcing you to take a leap of faith to see what's beyond, in case there's something beyond.
I'm gonna get a little bit grim. I'm just thinking some of the things that go through a person's mind as they are contemplating suicide.
Mhm.
Could it be that it it's finally an aspect of their life that they have control over. Maybe because you know, things aren't going well in their relationships or at school, or there's many factors that are contributing to their unhappiness. And maybe this is like a one choice that they can take into their own hands. I'm not sure. I don't know how to really get into the mind of that, but
I am not sure what they think about while they're planning on doing it, because I think everybody is or they're not afraid of death, but everybody respects it, right? So
mm,
you're not just going around like a madman trying to see whenever you die. You actually are a bit careful to not get
yeah,
to that point, right?
yeah, yeah,
I wonder what makes suicidal people actually overcome that thought or that feeling, right? To stop actually
hmm,
caring and being like, well, I might as well just face death right now because nothing's going the right way. It's
yeah.
interesting to
It's like
think
a
about.
sickness. I feel like it brews in you, and as the idea forms, it becomes more and more tempting.
Mm.
But that's what's dangerous about it.
And I think what's even more dangerous is the how quickly it happens or how quickly it develops, right? Like there's people that just need a few days to actually go through that and do it, and there's people that have been thinking about doing it for years, but it's I don't know, they don't have the courage to do it. I would say
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. I feel like a lot of people. This is my impression, but I feel like
Hmm.
a lot of people claim to have not seen it coming. But maybe the signs were there and they just didn't check.
Maybe it's things that normal people or people who are not thinking about doing it cannot perceive, but suddenly when you turn into the dark side, when you're actually thinking about very dark and grim stuff, it becomes obvious to you, right? And you try to make it obvious for the rest, but they just can't see
Yeah, that's definitely like a really really depressing way to go. Not that there's any like glamorous way,
it.
unless
Right.
like you're like doing a motorcycle of death or something, and that's like your pivotal moment is reaching this extreme height, and that's how you go. But
But there definitely must be better ways to go, right?
yeah. So did we talk about the ways that you can die?
No,
Another
we
great
didn't.
topic. Yeah. So I actually talked to a firefighter on a chat one time, and um, he was he was running the hose for
Hmm.
his dad, and his dad went into the basement of the burning house.
Hmm.
And first thing that happened was part of the house collapsed, and it stopped the flow of water. So he was
Oh,
downstairs trying to put out fire with no water, and then the stairs started burning.
no,
So they couldn't get out. So this was like after a fire, there's like an investigation,
right.
and they can determine like what course of events happened. So I
Hmm.
felt really bad for this guy because he was manning the hose for his father, and his father was stuck in a burning building. And my point is, well, that's a hell of a way to die.
Oh, did he go belly up after that?
What is that? Belly up?
Yeah, when you die, you've never heard that expression, going belly up.
No, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, if you go belly up, you die. It's a funny way to die. I mean, I thought we might add some humor to this to just like not be depressed
Did
after
he go
talking.
belly up? I'm not sure. Hopefully.
Hopefully, he died.
No, hopefully he went belly up.
Well, but going belly up is dying, right? Like you know how fish when they die they turn around and go belly up.
Okay.
That's the origin of the expression. Anyway, did he die? Did the father die?
Yeah, he went belly up and bar down.
Oh, yikes! That must be a terrible way to go. And I also wonder, what do you think when you know that you are already in the grasp of death, right? There's no escape.
So I feel like in a certain situation you'd be able to replay the best moments of your life and maybe pray for your loved ones or something, right? That they have a good life without you or something. But in the moment that you're burning alive, I don't think you have time. Like all that's running through your mind is fuck, 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 I'm on fire, right?
It must be terrible, like when you're about to die, actually being that anxious and that nervous, because I
Yeah.
think like a good way to die would be like being at peace, with yourself. Or
Yeah, for sure. No
like
doubt.
that's why they say that dying while you're asleep is one of the best ways to go, right? Well, they
Yeah.
claim that you don't feel any pain. However, I think that you're just laying on your bed and you're chilling, and suddenly you get the feeling, in case you get the feeling that you're gonna die, and you're like, well, I'm gonna die in my bed. At least I was comfortable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely,
At least I died in my new sheets.
but I think that one of the most terrible ways of dying, it's like by burning alive, and also drowning. I believe that drowning's, I think, worse. You know.
Yeah, so I have this book that the very beginning of the book describes a boy drowning and uh, like getting pulled underneath the waves as it
Mm.
crashes, and he gets knocked into the rocks and hits his head. Um, that's how the book starts, and it's a really descriptive way of drowning. And for someone that has never experienced it before, I can't imagine how you'd actually be able to come up with that. But it was very vivid, and it seems like, yeah,
I think
definitely a
it's
bad way to go.
terrible, and a lot of people I think can't relate to the fact that drowning's terrible because I don't know if it has happened to you, but I believe I was on the verge of drowning once, or
Oh
at least I
no!
felt like, water getting in my lungs and me not being able to
Oh
breathe.
shit!
So the things that when I was a kid, I loved swimming, right? And I was like a lot in the water, like pretty much every weekend, if not like twice a week. So I think that that's a lot, right? Especially not living near a beach zone or a coastal zone. But anyways, like as you're learning, you suddenly try dumb stuff, and sometimes that dumb stuff goes the wrong way. And I remember like water getting in my lungs and me not being able to breathe, or actually breathing through my nose water, and it's one of the worst feelings that you can get ever. Like it, I'm not sure how you describe the feeling of water being in your nose. It doesn't burn, but it hurts, and you're also desperate to actually get some air. So that's why I think drowning would be just terrible, and it would also be way more terrible if it's a slow process. If you're suddenly trapped inside a chamber, and the
Yeah,
chamber is filling up
yeah,
slowly, so you
yeah,
have to try and figure out a way to get out. And if you don't, then you just then again try to cope with the feeling that you're about to die. But you
mhm,
do not just do it instantly. You actually go through a painful process before you die. I think that's terrible.
yeah. I feel like a close call like that. If you manage to get out of like a cave as it was filling up with water, I
Hmm.
don't know, swimming through a channel and resurfacing, um, you would definitely have like a greater appreciation for your own life. If you come really close to death, like you're on the verge of dying, and then you manage to get through it, I think it would be very humbling.
I have a question. Have you ever been in a near death experience?
A near death experience. Hmm. Never been close to a traffic accident. Oh, yes, I have. I have been close to a traffic accident. I
Alright.
was involved in a car crash.
You have
Um,
been involved in a car
yeah,
crash?
yeah, yeah. So I was making a left turn.
Hmm.
And instead of making a left turn from the left lane, I made it from the second left lane, and I got sideswiped.
Hmm.
So my car spun around, so it crushed the rear door, um, and the airbags deployed. But if it had been closer to my passenger door, it might have broken my arm or even worse. So yeah, no, I still feel really grateful. It's like, oh my god, like I came so close to serious injury or even death.
I
Yeah.
have
So I'm
been
more
in
careful now.
I have been in two that have been probably the most uh, I don't know, intense situations that I've ever been on. The first one is that when I was young, we used to have a BB gun around here, but it's one of those BB guns that shoot like metal BB guns, you know. And I
Yeah.
had this dumb, dumb habit, I don't know, or this dumb thing that I used to do, in which I just like checked if the save was on, so I just pulled the trigger. But you see, one time the save was not on, so actually I almost ended up shooting myself in the face with that.
Holy
So
shit.
I know, I know, and I remember like the metal BB gun actually like doing a hole like right next to me, you know, next to my face. And after
Yeah.
that, well, I learned that I should not shoot without first checking the safety, right? You know,
There's a
that's like the basics of guns.
there's a Canadian holiday called Victoria Day,
Hmm.
and it celebrates the Queen, and people light fireworks. So my
Hmm.
friends and I got a bunch of Roman candles, and
Uh,
these are ones that you can fire, and they just shoot a firework, right?
yeah, it's those things that they use in the Harry Potter memes, right? Like where there's people like shooting with Roman candles to each
Yeah.
other. Hmm.
So we were on a soccer field, and it was late at night, and we were each like carrying like two or three of these, and we were running around like maniacs, I guess,
Uh,
firing them, right? And
mhm.
my friend fired one from across the pitch, and it was a near miss to my face. Could have really got hurt by that. That's another close call.
You bring a lot of memories of me also screwing up with fireworks. Uh, I also, I don't know, I think I became a pyromaniac for some
Pyromaniac?
time. Yeah, pyromaniac for some
Yeah.
time while being obsessed with fireworks, especially during the Christmas season, you know, because that's where fireworks sell the most. And here in Mexico, it's actually illegal to do it, but people don't care and still buy them. And I have to admit that I used to do it. So please,
Mhm.
cops, do not send me to jail. Anyway, I remember like trying or limit testing a lot of stuff that could have gone the wrong way. I remember buying these cheap fireworks. You know, they were like extremely cheap. They were like 100 of these fireworks that blew up. I don't know their name, but they were for like for $1. You know, so you know something was wrong from there because that was like 5 times less the price that they usually go by. So I light them up, and I remember it blowing like right next to my face. That could have also been like terrible. I
Jeez.
remember even like getting those Vietnam flashbacks. You know, I had the buzzing
Oh,
sound and
yeah,
stuff, and I was
yeah,
like, oh god, is this it?
yeah. The helicopters and the meat.
Exactly, but you know how in video games when something blows up
Yeah,
right next to you, you get that
yeah,
buzzing sound.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember hearing that,
That's
and I was
alarming.
like, oh Jesus,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I thought it was just a joke or something that happened in video games, but no. When you hear that thing, you're definitely like worried that something happened to your ear.
Yeah, shell shock.
Exactly. So, I mean, thankfully nothing happened. You know, I just shook it off, and of course we threw away those fireworks. Like hell, no, we're not lighting up another.
Wow. So, what a way to go if you actually, got knocked off the planet by a firework.
Yeah, and I also remember once. You see, sometimes I used to go on bike trips with my dad on Sundays when it was his free day. And whenever we went, there was always this railroad, you know, that we had to cross. So we got to the other side of or to just carry on with our trip. But once the train was, you know, in the middle of the way, and we were getting desperate because, you know, the train had been over there like for 30 minutes, and we just had to keep on going. So my dad told me to go under the train, you know, with our bike and stuff. There was like a little space under the wagon, and I was like, sure, I can fit in. I was small, you know,
Wait,
and
as it was moving?
no, it wasn't moving. It was like still. So you know,
Oh,
it made sense to just go underneath it and carry on. And then I remember that the moment I went underneath it, the train like blows its whistle. You know, it goes choo choo,
oh
and
my
you can
goodness.
hear that thing like starting. I was, dude, I Honestly, I think I crapped my pants at the moment, dude. Of course, my dad was also scared as hell, dude. He was like,
Yeah,
"Well, now you know you just have to wait a little bit more." But I think like that if I got stuck underneath it or something, I would probably I would have gotten crushed by the train.
yeah. So I was a bit rebellious in 2014. So I was like early 20s, right? I was
Hmm.
going through a lot. Like, um, I had a bit of a mental breakdown, and one of the ways I dealt with it was like just being a rebel.
Uh huh.
I broke into a train yard, and they were testing a train, so it was moving quite slowly. I didn't think that anyone was on it, maybe the conductor or anything like that, right? But I
Hmm.
was walking towards the train track. I jumped onto a moving train.
How did that go?
So the train's moving, right? So as it's moving, you find like an opening, and when the door comes by you, you hop on,
Hmm.
and the train just bumps you as you get on, and
Hmm.
it's a bit shocking. But I still can't believe I did something stupid like that. I did get in trouble. They caught me, and
After
uh,
that.
I was escorted off the property.
Hmm.
But yeah, one of the more daredevil things I've done.
Did you do it by yourself or were you with someone else?
No, I was just exploring. So I just stumbled into a train yard and um, just hopped on to a moving train. Really stupid. I don't recommend it. It's not my finest moment, but it happened.
Yeah, we've all had those kinds of moments.
Yeah, I'm glad things have leveled out for me. So drowning, burning alive,
Hmm.
fireworks. What else? What are some close calls? I saw on the news yesterday that there were these two window washers. They were up really high on the building, but
Was
they
it on
were
a skyscraper or on
a
just a tall
skyscraper.
building? Hmm.
It might have just been a tall building. I don't know.
Still, it's very very high up, right?
The platform broke and crashed onto the street below. Luckily, no one got hurt. Some
Not even
fire
the window washers.
window washers. Some firefighters went up and broke the window and pulled them in. But yeah, imagine that hanging by a thread. Hell of a time, right?
And then again, you're just praying for something to happen, right? Like I
Yeah.
think
When
I,
your
I,
life is literally in someone else's hands, that is when like I would be losing hope because like you have no control over this situation.
yeah, because like if you can actually do something to get out of that situation, I believe you would do it, right? Like I
Yeah.
believe we are the we're the most active, or we're really active whenever we're in danger, right? We're
Well,
really clever. Mhm.
there's animals that will like gnaw its own leg off if it's
If it comes to that, right?
crunched under a boulder. But I don't know personally if I could do it. Have you seen the movie? What is it? 72 Hours.
Um, I think I saw it a long time ago. I think it
So
involves something
he
like
had
with
to
him.
cut through his nerves, and that was like an agonizing scene.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes where you actually like cringe, right? Or actually like,
Yeah,
kind of feel it on your nerves or in whatever the guy is doing.
yeah.
But I'm not sure. Then again, like I think if it comes to that or dying, you just go for it. I think you don't even think it twice, right? Like even though you're not that brave, I think the fear of dying is greater than
Mm,
the pain, and I think that just
mm.
drives you to do it.
You really have to be placed in that situation for the adrenaline to take over and stuff.
Yeah,
So I
because
wanted to bring up another article that I saw on futurism. I
mhm,
don't know if you checked this one out. It's a new type of coffin. It's grown from mycelium mushroom,
mhm.
and it's biodegradable. So it costs. It's an expensive coffin, but it's like a new product.
Is it more
And
expensive than your regular coffin?
how much does a regular coffin cost? This one costs
I'm not even sure.
2,500. Maybe it's around the same.
Yeah, I think it sounds about right that they're
Yeah.
at the same price.
So the idea is it promotes the natural degradation of your body. So it rots into the soil and it provides nutrients to the trees around. And that's like a very poetic kind of way to send yourself off, I
Hmm.
think, as opposed to like in like a
In a
wooden and
wood
metal
box.
tin. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that. I didn't see or I didn't read that article that you're mentioning to me. However, I saw like posts about it. And there was also like this alternative where you well don't actually you're not in a coffin, but whenever you die, you get like in this tiny capsule, and it has a tree seeds, right? So whenever you die, a tree grows on top of your body, and I think that is also a great way to be buried. You know, maybe maybe it will have more meaning because that's
It's symbolic. It's symbolic because any of your friends or family, if they wanted to visit you, they could just go to the tree that's above your body, and then it's like something that they can physically see as a representation of you passing.
now
I think there's a lot of meaning behind it.
imagine if you could tell that people would not be really into it for one or two people, but imagine if you actually had generations of trees, if you had like your actual little forest of your family. I think that would be great for the environment, and it would also like be more meaningful to you because you could just
Yeah,
visit
yeah.
your whole loved ones uh, at a
I'm
time.
pretty sure cremation is like not that great because you're burning the body, but it emits carbon dioxide too, and like you have to fuel the incinerator as well. So
Right.
it's not the most eco-friendly solution.
Yeah. I think it would be. It would not be crazy for me to consider actually like being buried, like not even in a coffin, like just as in the ground with actually tree seeds or whatever on top of me. And I think it would be great if they took care of it, right? If they just don't
Yeah,
forget you. If there's a tree that actually will keep ongoing forever, or at least for
it's like
a few hundred
I'm
years.
just thinking like a mob boss scene, like guy throws a shovel at his partner, like, "Hey, dig a hole, capiche?" And you're like banging them in the back of the trunk.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have like a little, not celebration, like a little homage for me, right? Before I part ways with everyone else, just let go of everything else. Because I don't know, like, what do you think about coffins? Do you think it's a good thing? Are they bad?
um, so I have been to one funeral, my
Hmm.
grandma's, and it was very moving. We have a very big family on my dad's side,
Hmm.
and it it was a Buddhist tradition, like a traditional Buddhist um, send away, I guess.
Hmm.
And it was an open coffin in the funeral home, and there was like monks that led us in a circle around the front of the coffin, and they like hit a gong and they were making chanting. They were doing chants,
Hmm.
and then each sibling, each one of the sons and daughters of my grandma, their family would go from youngest to oldest, right?
Hmm.
And lay a cloth over the body. So it
Just
was
any kind of cloth, or was it like special?
it was like a special like blanket kind of cloth, and there were 10 uh, brothers and sisters. So by the end of it, there were 10. It's like thin layers of cloth, and it's
Hmm.
like saying like "rest in peace," right?
Right.
So I thought that was very moving. And then after transporting the coffin to the funeral home, not the funeral home, the cemetery, it was very touching to see the family around the grave, and the people lowering the casket down into the grave. It's like a
Mm.
slow, like somber and really like sad process because it's just going down and I'm just crying and yeah, it was an experience for sure.
It is tough not to cry. I remember also being in two funerals. One was my uncle's and one was my grandpa's, right? So my uncle got buried and my grandpa got cremated. I think the burial was more moving, I guess, more touching because you don't actually get the feeling that he's gone because the body is still inside the casket, right? Or inside the coffin. There's like this tradition in Mexico in which when they're about to start burying the dead guy, you know how they just shoveled dirt inside the tomb, right? Or the hole. So this tradition consists on you grabbing like stones or dirt and actually throwing it on top of the coffin, and it means that you're actually saying goodbye to
Hmm.
your loved one. I think that was one of the most moving experiences that I've ever taken part in. In the cremation, like I remember also like seeing my grandpa for the last time, and it's also the family reunited. But damn, it's the most amount of people that I've ever seen like in a funeral. I didn't even know that my mom's family was that big. There are faces that you have never seen before, and they're like, "Hey, I'm like your great great uncle and stuff," and you're like, "Wait, does that even exist?" All right. But anyway, like the cremation is just like everyone waiting for the body to, turn into ashes, and they just take like the vase. Do you call it a vase or
Oh, it's a jar.
the jar, the jar, the vase? You just take it like to the. I believe it's called the common tomb, where a lot of ashes of your family have are
Hmm.
already there, right? But it's I think it's nice to actually see like all the ashes and the photos and to remember um, those um, those loved ones, but I think it's not as moving as a burial, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay, so on a lighter note, I'd like to move on to our final segment. Uh,
Let's go.
it's called "Are You Not Entertained?" So I'd like to talk about your favorite video games, TV shows, movies. So
All right,
just
let's go into something
yeah.
more cheerful, right? It's getting sad in here. All right, so which with what should I start?
Any form of entertainment that you're consuming right now, you're playing right now, watching right now. Any
Um,
recommendations too that you have for the viewers?
there's this nice game called Rocket League, which just
Hmm.
became free to play. So if you guys are looking for a new and fun way and a competitive game, Rocket League is your way to go. It is hard, not gonna lie. The controllers are not as easy as they seem. However, you have a soccer ball, you have cars, you have speed. It's just a good mixture.
I find the trouble with that game is positioning and knowing where the ball is because you have to adjust your camera to exactly time your contact with the ball. So if you run up the side of the dome
Mhm.
and launch yourself off, and you want to tip the back of your car so that it bumps the ball, that's like a really complex maneuver,
It
and
is.
I feel like you really have to be a pro to do that.
It's like every game, right? Like you can enjoy just playing it. However, you get the most of it if you actually spend time or put the time in it to improve and you see the mechanics pay off, for example, right? Like your mechanical movements are just on point, and that's when you start enjoying the game. So I can see why new players drop the game like after an hour or two. But I think it's a great game if you are actually trying to spend time in a new competitive game.
I agree. I agree. How does it compare to if you play FIFA? Because they're both, soccer, but one is with cars. Obviously, it's a bit
Um,
different.
First of all, it's a spin-off, right? Like you do not see cars and soccer in real life. Like I do not see it. Like how would they actually blend in,
There's
right?
like battle bots, but that's about the most competitive you get with moving.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I also have to say, like battle bots. I like battle bots, but they also kind of get lame, right? Because they are under regulations, and you cannot just throw in like the most crazy stuff in your bot. You know, it
Yeah,
has to be like tiny, and you can just use like hammers or saws. I
yeah,
think it takes a bit the fun off a little bit, right?
sure. You just want to have like a chainsaw and just hack through, eh?
Exactly, dude. Or just have like, I don't know, three spinning saws in front of you so you can cut everything in half. However, they will not allow you to do it, right? They just
Yeah,
like let you have a flamethrower, but you're like, dude, what's a flamethrower gonna do? It just looks cool, but it's not effective.
totally.
But anyway, like getting back to your question, I think FIFA is a good game with the boys, because I find that especially guys enjoy FIFA way more than girls. Or
Mhm.
at least that's what I've seen. I think FIFA is a nice way to prove like who's the alpha in games, like in chill games, because FIFA is a game that's not hard to get the hang of. You
Yeah.
can learn the controllers pretty easily, the controls pretty easily. You get well, everybody knows soccer, or at least a lot of guys know soccer, so they know what to do, right? And there are a lot of techniques that makes it an easy game. Of
I
course, if
never
you
got into
Mhm.
FIFA, but I played a lot of Mario Strikers on the
Oh,
GameCube.
that was
Like,
great,
I was
dude.
really good at that.
I played it on the Wii because I think the game came out
Backwards compatible, right? No.
exactly, and it was also like fun because you have these crazy powers, right? Like depending on the character that was doing like the super shot, so you would get like Bowser actually shooting a shell, right, that would crush whatever came in front of it, or Donkey Kong like. I don't know, throwing the ball in a very weird way. Super Mario Strikers is a great game. I also recommend it.
Did you
However, it's
play
kind of
the original Donkey Kong on the N64?
I remember I did, but I never got into it. It was just like a one-time play.
That was really cool. There were some levels that were like really hard to get through,
Mhm,
especially like the train levels where you're on like a track and you have
mhm.
to like do jumps across like gaps on the rail. Really intense.
Okay. Another game that I would recommend. I'm actually looking at my Steam library over here. So if anyone's looking for a nice shooter, I would recommend Titanfall 2. So,
Yes,
have you
I've
played it?
I've played a bit of it. Actually, the unfortunate thing is the last time I downloaded it, I think I already had a copy installed, and it tried to overwrite it, and it just like corrupted it, and I couldn't even load
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
I couldn't deal with it. I just returned the game. But my girlfriend beat it about 3 4 weeks ago, and she loved it.
Yeah, I also finished it like about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's a great multiplayer experience. It's different
Yeah,
movement
it was good.
mechanics. They're
Yeah.
definitely guns, and I loved the campaign. If you're a campaign guy, I think you will also love the
Hmm.
campaign. It's funny how they describe the relationship between a robot and a human being, and how uh, things can get like really personal between them. I really loved the whole thing. And it has a really nice plot to it, so it's also really enjoyable throughout. It's not a hard game either to complete.
Do you have any recommendations if you've been watching any good TV, any good TV shows online or anything?
Mm, I've been watching South Park recently, but South Park's not a solid recommendation, right? It's just like a chill program. I've been watching The Office. Have you watched The Office?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't
So.
watch. I didn't watch like the final few seasons where they brought in Will Ferrell.
Mhm,
But the funny thing about The Office is it's got a cult following, right?
mhm.
And that's natural. But the the actors that play in The Office won't let go of the show. They're like they're still talking about it, like all the
Right.
like they're on Twitter talking about it. They're still promoting the show. Like it's like we know it's a popular show. It had its run. Why are you guys still so into it? And they just haven't let go of the show.
I think they just did a great job overall. I love how Steve Carell plays Michael.
Yeah.
I love it that you actually cringe at some points of the show. I
Yeah,
remember actually needing to pause the episode and just like, hold on, give me a second, dude. I need to recover from this. That was painful to watch, but not painful because the scene was terrible. Like, completely the opposite. You enjoyed it a lot, and you felt the scene, and you were like, "Wow, this is great." Just give me
the
a second, and I'll be right back.
the characters are just classic. They're just classic. Stanley, um,
Yeah, Angela, Oscar, for example. It's
Toby.
exactly. Yeah, I gotta love how they bully Toby. Like
Yeah,
the relationship between Michael and Toby is just so fun for me.
yeah, it's great. It's
But yeah,
great.
The Office is a nice, laid back. What's it? Is it comedy? It's a comedy, right?
Sitcom, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sitcom that's really enjoyable. You don't need to watch a lot of episodes to understand it, right? You can just go into a random episode and you'll understand it completely. So you do not need to, uh,
Yeah, you
stay up to
can
date with
kind
all
of
the
jump
episodes.
around, right? You don't have to go in order in sequence.
There's these series that I love that it's called this TV show called Love, Death, and Robots. Have you watched it?
I've seen it on Netflix, but I haven't actually looked into it.
It's great. So there's not a plot to it. Every episode's different, right? So you get new stories every time. So if you're not a fan of those kind of shows, then straight away just stay
Like
away
it's
from it.
like an individual story for each episode, right?
Exactly. And every episode has its own kind of artwork, its own plot,
Oh
and
wow.
different lengths. Some episodes just last for 5 minutes, other last for about half an hour. But I think it's great to just see the amazing artwork that every episode has. Of course, some episodes are on a lower tier than other ones, right? Some are really good, some are really meh. But I enjoy it. There's this episode called um well, hold on, Lima Blue, Sigma Blue. Well, the thing is that it tells like a really deep story. Zima Blue. It's called Zima Blue.
Okay.
This episode talks about the creation of a robot. So they portray an artist that's extremely mysterious to everyone. He does not speak to the press, right? He does not give any press conferences or whatever. He's just like in his thing, and suddenly he starts feeling bored of his artwork, and he starts including these tiny blue squares in his paintings, right? And eventually, these paintings, like these little squares, start becoming bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually the paintings were just blue, but they were just increasing in size, right? And
That's
everybody was like,
bizarre.
"Yeah, exactly." And everybody,
That
everyone.
reminds me of in
Mhm,
Parasite. There's a boy who lives with the family in the house,
mhm.
and he does some art. And one of the analysis of the girl who like is like teaching him
Mhm.
says that he draws in the schizophrenic zone of the painting, which is the bottom right corner, and he like makes like this bizarre pattern there, and it's
But
supposed to mean like he's developing some sort of mental thing. But
was it true though? Because I remember watching Parasite, and she was faking everything, right?
yeah, yeah, no, I don't know if that's scientifically accurate, but that was a part of it.
But anyway, so people start wondering about why Zima Blue is doing all this,
Yeah.
and he reaches out to a reporter, and he tells her that he wants to tell his story, and he tells it to her, and at the end you're just blown away, but because of the reason why he was actually painting everything, and the ending is just like that nobody expected it, and I think it's a very touching episode. I look at it whenever I want to feel motivation, because it has a very deep message for me. I'm planning on getting a tattoo on it because of
Okay.
how important it is to me.
I'll just recommend one movie. It's a documentary on Netflix. It's called an octopus. I always forget. It's an octopus. It's something about an octopus anyway.
Okay.
But it follows the life of a director.
Mhm.
Um, filmmaker, and he lives off the coast of like he's on the western coast of South Africa, and he's right next to the ocean. And he goes diving and he spots an octopus,
Hmm.
and he gets very curious about it and decides to spend every single day visiting this octopus and documenting its life. And surprisingly, it lives a very full and interesting life, and how it interacts with the sea and the creatures around it, and how it protects itself from its enemies. And he
Hmm.
developed a bond with the octopus, actually, and it's just really, really inspiring. And it's a bit weird, but a love story between a man and an octopus. But it really is a good documentary.
I'll definitely search for it. Sounds like really good. Fun fact: do you know that like octopus tend to like build their home with shells and stuff and trash, and they do not finish until they believe that their garden is like set up and good to go.
Really,
Yeah, they build their home and they have
nature
the gardens and stuff.
because you see it with birds too, with their nests and stuff, how they just perfect it.
Yeah, however, I believe octopus just collect stuff that they like and they start like I don't know, just putting them on their garden as we would, like with gnomes or with nice bushes. So they
Cool.
did it the same.
All right, Henry.
Hmm.
Let's leave the podcast off with some final thoughts. So, um, is there anything you're working on that you like to share, or maybe a few words for the viewers?
Well, there's not a specific project that I'm working on. I just want to say that um, I hope that the chat or the talk that we had right here entertains you because we know that these are very hard times, right? And that people become like really bored lately and they look for something different. I hope that our words actually get into you and you uh and they like turn a light inside you, or they actually like spark some interest in transhumanism, or actually investigating about death, or in a video game that we talked about, or in a TV show. We hope that you can get something out of this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Henry. It's been a pleasure, and that's episode 5 of Honest Admissions.
It was great.